Rotogrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that Rotogrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on Rotogrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/Discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels, and we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your Rotogrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @Rotogrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday, March 31st edition of NHL Grinders Live. I'm going to be your host today, Sean, PSU fans to Newsham. Joining me on this lovely Thursday afternoon is Boggs Slate. Boggs, how you doing Thursday?
Doing good. We got a fun little slate ahead of us tonight, 9-gamer, but there's some really juicy matchups out there. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, 9 games is probably right in the wheelhouse. I think like 7 to 9 is probably where everyone wants to see them usually. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't get too overwhelming, but just enough where you're not loading up on a guy's 50 plus ownership.
Yeah, like you have like a 13-game slate. You're just sitting there and there's too much going on, and then similar to 5-game slate, there's generally not enough going on. So when you hit the stuff in the middle, it's generally really good. All right, so everyone, just so you guys are aware, we are doing a contest. So on the YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, and if you aren't subscribed, make sure you do that as well, and leave a comment on the video with a guess to how many DraftKings points you think the highest scoring skater will score tonight. Whoever is the closest will receive a week free of Rotogrinders combo premium subscription. So make sure you guys check out the YouTube, and then Scores and Odds. If you guys haven't checked out Scores and Odds, we've got you covered over there. It's your number one place for all things sports betting. Check it out for daily expert picks, analysis, and tools to help make you a better sports bettor. I know we had a lot of good stuff up there over the last month or so with March Madness. We got baseball coming up. I know you're excited about that, Boggs.
Absolutely. It's about damn time.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Scores and Odds if you guys want to find some good bets. Lots of different stuff up there. You'll find stuff. I know I post some soccer bets on occasion. I know other people are posting things for a bunch of different sports. So even if it's something you maybe don't follow closely, but you're sitting around your house on a Tuesday at 2 p.m., you might find something out there to bet on. So we are going to jump into it. Like I said, we have a 9-game slate. We're going to start off with the New Jersey Devils at the Boston Bruins. New Jersey is plus 199 and Boston is minus 226 in this game. We will start with the Bruins. So I know something that we talk about frequently with the Bruins is lack of ice time, sort of, that the main guys are getting. Recently, looking through it, we've seen Patrice Bergeron down around 15 minutes even as recently as 2 games ago. So what's your thoughts on the Bruins tonight? And does the lack of minutes worry you even in a good matchup like this?
Not particularly, not in this matchup tonight. They've got the Craig Smith I guess he's out with an illness, and so that leaves them a little bit thin. So I'm expecting a little bit more ice time for the top 6 in this game, and it's a pretty good matchup, obviously, on home ice against the weak Devils squad. It's hard not to like Bergeron, Marchand. You mentioned ice time, but they're going to get a healthy dose of Jack Hughes on the other side. So I expect them to come out. Boston as a team has been one of the best teams in hockey, over the past month, even dealing with some guys getting banged up here and there. But it's really the top 6 for the Bruins in this one. Probably would lean towards the second line with Hall and Pastrnak in particular. But yeah, you can never write off Bergeron and Marchand, just given what they're capable of each given night.
For sure. Yeah. The one piece of news in that game is that Craig Smith will be out for the Bruins. So that might shake up things a little bit. All right. On the New Jersey side, you just talked about Jack Hughes a little bit. We have like Hughes, Hamilton, Brad. These guys are coming in quite expensive compared to what you would normally want. So do you see anyone that is playable at all from the New Jersey side in this game?
Yeah, not particularly. Boston's just too strong defensively. They're a team that doesn't give up a lot of goals, especially on home ice where they can dictate the matchups, the pace. If anything, it would be Hughes, but he comes in with a steep price tag, and it's just not a spot where I want to mess around paying up for those guys here tonight.
For sure. All right, next game, we got Columbus Blue Jackets at the New York Islanders. New York comes in at -196. Columbus is a +174 underdog in this game. Some news with this game: Adam Pelech will be a game time decision for the Islanders. Not really someone that you generally would play for fantasy upside, however, so it won't really impact you there. And then on the Columbus side, Zach Werenski did not travel and will not play again. So a couple guys that will be out today. Werenski definitely more of an impact. So we'll start with the Islanders in this one. What do you like from the Islanders? The issue for me with the Islanders is that they just generally don't produce enough, especially top end guys. So even when they're in favorable matchup, it's not something I love to look at.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's the struggle that I'm having with the Islanders, because it's obviously a pristine matchup. We know they have the talent, but it seems like the system that they play in kind of holds them back at times. But I mean, you mentioned that Columbus, it's a great matchup. They're among the worst defensive teams in hockey without their best defensemen. So this is one I'm really struggling to kind of really figure out if I'm going to go there tonight. Obviously, the Islanders, the lack of production also means that they're pretty relatively cheap compared to some of these other teams and games we're going to get there tonight. So it's really just going to kind of come down to how they kind of fit in your build. But the top line of Nelson, Lee, Beauvillier, that's obviously where you'd want to start. But then you can dip down to, Barzal, Parise, Wahlstrom, or even that third line with Pajot in particular, Bailey, Palmieri. I mean, these guys are dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap for a reason. But like I said, if there's ever a matchup that they at least could go off, it's this one. It's just can we trust it to happen tonight?
For sure. All right. On the Columbus side, not much that stands out, except for the one thing to me is it looks like Gavrikov has been the beneficiary with Werenski out. He came in with a monster game last game out against the Islanders. He had 2 goals. He had 5 shots on goal and 3 blocks. So he was able to just rake in stats. Gets the same team here tonight and is at 3,400. Is that someone that you think could be a viable punt option on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, really, you got Peak. Boquist is there too. I mean, these guys are going to have to fill in that ice time. So the ice time's there. It's, obviously he was able to produce that last game, but are the Islanders going to come in here and rack up 40 shots? I mean, that's how bad the Columbus has been. But it's I wouldn't say you could do a lot worse, but not going to be a priority jamming in anyone from Columbus. But yeah, I don't hate it.
All right. Next game, we have the Montreal Canadiens traveling to Carolina to face the Hurricanes. This is the most lopsided game of the slate. Carolina is the biggest favorite. They are minus 394 favorite here. One of the higher goal expectancies on the slate. However, not the biggest, despite being the biggest favorite. So that's something to note a bit. Sometimes you'll see that in hockey, as other games will have more goals expected as an overall. So a big favorite might not carry the highest expected goals on the night. But looking at the Carolina team, you have guys like Aho, Svechnikov, Trocheck. A lot of these guys are not that incredibly high priced for this game, where they're almost 4-1 favorite. So who do you like on Carolina? Because their price points are not incredibly expensive.
Yeah. And, you know, if you want to tack on, you know, that third piece of that line with a Jarvis or a Domi, those guys are coming in super cheap as well. But yeah, I really love Carolina in this spot. Montreal, it's been an up and down ride with Marty St. Louis in there at the helm there. But yeah, they coming in even over the last 10 games, getting the most among the most shot attempts, most scoring chances. They're the highest goals against, and you got Carolina on the flip side, a team that dominates at home. I will say over their last 10 games, they've kind of really just clamped down defensively, which is maybe one of the reasons why you know, you don't see that high expected goal total. But this is a team we know that certainly dominates possession. They're good on the power play, and Montreal has been really struggling on the penalty kill. So yeah, really anyone from that top power play, can throw in D'Angelo there as well, is certainly in play for me. And I don't really have a preference. I think this is a spot where you could go with an Aho on the top line, and then a Svechnikov on the second line, like we've talked about in the past. I really only like doing that if I like the power play matchup, and this is certainly a great spot for that.
For sure. All right, the Montreal side of things, Jeff Petry's out. Looks like he'll be a long-term type of injury. You have some reduced prices, but again, massive underdog here. But you have Cole Caulfield. He's been someone that we've talked about frequently on shows thus far this year. Do you like anyone on Montreal? They're not dirt cheap, but they aren't incredibly expensive either.
Yeah, it would be that top line. That's really only where I would go. I mean, we've mentioned in the past that Carolina as a whole on the season, they're just a high event team, and they play on home ice. So they've had fantastic goalie play from Anderson this year, but they're not a team like Boston, or at least they haven't been on home ice throughout the whole year. But again, like I mentioned, they have cracked down defensively, so not a priority for me for the Habs. But yeah, if anything, I think you could maybe get a little potential if this game does go back and forth.
All right, next game, we have the highest goal expectancy of the game, despite not being the biggest favorite. Florida Panthers are at home against the Chicago Blackhawks. Florida's expected to score about 4.24 goals in this game, so it's a massive total for the Panthers. Again, these guys are not that expensive outside Barkov. Like, Huberdeau is really not that expensive at 6,800. So who's your favorite plays on the Panthers tonight? And what's your thoughts on Giroux's price? It is creeping up a little bit. However, it's still not up to the 7K range that you expect for someone like that on the Panthers right now.
Yeah, the only thing that if I could maybe pick anything, it's that, you know, obviously Florida, they're still trying to find some chemistry with their lines. You know, Giroux's on that centering that second line now. That kind of shit pisses me off, to be honest, but it is what it is. I mean, they've been plugging and mixing guys in and out all around this lineup all season long, and they just keep steamrolling their opponents. So yeah, it's really not a question of, you know, who I like in particular. It's really who I don't like. And there's not much to be said about this Florida team. I think that they will continue to roll here, and it's a spot where I'm going to have a lot of exposure. Like Barkov, Reinhart together, obviously they're on the power play together. Verhaeghe is a guy that still produces despite not getting any love in terms of ice time. But and then you could dip down to that second line with Giroux and Huberdeau. That's really how I would attack them. But also don't sleep on the third line. I mean, Chicago, they don't have much depth, and they certainly can be exploited away from home ice. So gotta like Florida here in this spot.
For sure. All right, the other side of the ice, we do have some expensive players here with Patrick Kane at 7,600. DeBrincat at 7,200, which is pretty wild for a team that is this big of an underdog. However, we look at Kane, you look through his game logs, Kane's getting well over a point per game recently. He's been really good all season, and he's someone that can still produce. Do you like the Chicago Skaters at all, knowing that you're going to get them at reduced ownership?
Oh yeah, I think it's if you want to pick a spot to be contrarian. I mean, if they're going to score, it's going to come from that top line. I mentioned they don't have much depth. Problem is Barkov is he's an elite defensive center, so he's going to get a healthy dose of Barkov, similar to how we talked about with New Jersey, Jack Hughes going up against Bergeron. But yeah, it's they're still going to get a ton of ice time that top line. They're on the power play. I think if you want to get contrarian, you could do a lot worse here tonight because I don't expect many to be paying up for Kane and that top line tonight.
For sure. All right, next game, we have Winnipeg at Toronto. Toronto comes in minus 233 in this game, and we have plus 205 from the Winnipeg side of the ice. So we'll start with Toronto in this one. Austin Matthews scored the game-winning goal the other day on the power play and also had an assist, had a really nice game against Boston. He's been relatively consistent over the last stretch of games as well. So starting with Toronto, do you like Matthews? Because his price tag right now is incredibly high, but other players around him are not near what he is.
Yeah, I think you've got to like Matthews in this spot. And we talk about all the time, this is a spot where there's so many good matchups where I think that will kind of absorb the normal high ownership that we'll see for Matthews. I still probably expect him to be the highest owned player, but nothing like we've seen on a 4 or 5 game slate. So it's not going to get me off of him by any means. And this is a great matchup. You got a Winnipeg team that regularly gets bailed out by their goalie Hellebuck. The backup goalie is in net tonight, Comrie, and Winnipeg is a team that obviously on a back-to-back, and I just expect Matthews to continue to roll. I mean, he's carried the load all season long for the Leafs, and I don't anticipate him slowing down at all in this spot here.
Definitely. All right, on the Winnipeg side of the ice, Kyle Connor is out tonight. He has entered the COVID protocol alongside Nate Schmidt. So they will be down 2 players, one of which being their most valuable player. So is there anyone else on the Winnipeg side that you think might be worthwhile at all tonight?
Not particularly. I mean, Toronto has been solid on the penalty kill all season long, and they've been dominant on home ice. And, Winnipeg is really kind of been a team that gets a lot of their scoring from that power play, and obviously Connor. So it's, I had nothing against Scheifele and Ehlers and Wheeler and those guys, but I just think that I'm going to be looking elsewhere tonight.
All right, next game, we have probably one of the less appealing games of the night, but there is still a decent goal expectancy in this one. We have Pittsburgh Penguins at the Minnesota Wild. The total goals expected is around 6.5, so there's still some goals to be had. So we'll start with the away team, the Penguins, in this one. A team that you will generally talk about and say that maybe they don't have as much upside as some other star power matchups out there. So is there anyone on the Penguins you like, knowing that all of them are relatively expensive when you look at Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Rust, Letang? All their big dogs are over 6K.
Yeah, it's this is definitely a game where it's probably going to be the most competitive, or one of the most on this slate, more of a real life hockey game than one I'm going to be targeting for fantasy purposes. That being said, anytime Crosby, Gensel, Rust, you step on the ice, regardless of the opponent, they do have upside. I think Minnesota's got what it takes to at least slow them down. I see this being like a 3-2 game where really neither side is going to really pay off for you unless several of these games just end up being duds, which I don't see. So I'm not going there on the Pittsburgh side of things. I might lean that top line for Minnesota because they'll get the matchups. The only problem is it's really hard to attack Pittsburgh because they've got so much depth.
Definitely. So on the Minnesota side of the ice, they are a slight favorite here, being at home. You have Kaprizov, you have their big guys that are a little bit more expensive as well. Anyone that you can peel from Minnesota at all?
Yeah, it would be Kaprizov in that top line. On home ice, they get the more favorable matchups while still getting some solid ice time. So it'll be interesting to see how they ultimately match up in this game, whether they go against that Crosby or maybe they try and pick on Carter Malkin from the second and third lines, but it depends on how the flow of the game's going because they do have a shutdown line with Eriksson X. So it's the problem is I just don't really see a whole lot of power play potential. And like I said, it is difficult for Minnesota to really get an edge in the matchups in this one. So I'm not in love with it, but I think you might see Kaprizov at his lowest ownership all season long, given some of these other matchups. So there is potential there.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at it and you see that they are the smallest favorite on slate out of 9 games. They are incredibly small compared to some of the other games. And we don't generally see it, but we only have 9 games tonight, and we have 4 games where the home team is over -300. So we have just some massive favorites on this slate tonight. Speaking of one of those, we have the Calgary Flames against the LA Kings. Flames come in -305. They are one of the biggest favorites on the slate, but they have a less expected goal total than that of Carolina, Florida, and the next game when we talk about the Avalanche. So like, I think that Calgary overall is going to come in lower owned than what normally you see out of teams that are -300. Do you think the same thing with Flames?
Potentially, yeah. It depends. I see a lot, people tend to like to pick on teams that are on the back-to-back. So it'll be interesting to see when the ownership ultimately comes down to, but this is definitely a game that has some goal potential. I think obviously both these teams like to shoot the puck. Daryl Sutter going up against his old team, and he's not a guy that loves these high scoring back and forth games. So that's probably part of the reason why you might see that. He's a old fashioned give me 2-1 game, which could go either way. But yeah, I do like Calgary getting the edge here. They got that top line back together. And then if you want to dip down, maybe play Toffoli for a revenge narrative at a decent price. I don't have a problem doing that as well because the Kings will be playing on tired legs and they're still a little shorthanded defensively. So yeah, I do give the Flames the edge here, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to score 5 goals, put it that way.
Yeah, and that's the big knock on them tonight is these other teams you definitely think have more of a shot at it than the Flames. On the LA side, we have Victor Arvidsson coming in as the best scorer realistically for the Kings. Not much else out there to me, especially with them being such a big underdog. I don't expect massive production from them. Do you see anyone that sort of stands out to you at all there?
It would be Arvidsson in that second line. He's really been one of the key reasons they've been able to turn around this year. But it's not a good matchup because Calgary is a strong possession team. It's just how you think that this game is going to go back and forth a lot of shots. Then Arvidsson would be the guy that I would, and Deneau on that second line that I'd be targeting.
Definitely. All right, next game, we have the Colorado Avalanche at home against the San Jose Sharks. We get Nathan McKinnon back in the lineup tonight. So that is a big boost for the Avalanche and adds in one of the best scorers in the league. So we'll start with the Avalanche with this one. With McKinnon coming back into the lineup here, what do you see from him? Do you think he's the best player, raw points overall on the slate tonight?
Maybe on a price per points perspective because of Matthews' steep price. Obviously, McKinnon's not a relative discount, but it'll be curious to see if he just hops right back into those minutes. I think I'm inclined to believe that he will, because otherwise they're not in danger of missing the playoffs by any means. And so McKinnon wants to be out there. I don't necessarily think he's going to be eased in because if he was, he should just be sitting, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do like McKinnon. It's a great spot. San Jose, not a strong team. And on home ice, McKinnon is a fantastic play. And Nichushkin, Rantanen, those guys have found some chemistry. And then that second line is a bit intriguing to me. Obviously, they're probably going to draw a tougher matchup going against the top line for San Jose. But with Kadri, Lehkonen, Burakovsky, it's cheap. And I do expect them to get, a healthy dose of ice time here.
Definitely. All right. On the San Jose side, we talked about them not being very good. However, they do have a couple people that produce. overall, Timo Meier has been really good this year. His points per game is almost 16, which is pretty fantastic, especially for someone on a team that is not that good. So is there anyone that you like on San Jose in this matchup at all?
Yeah, it would be Meyer, and it's kind of similar to what I talked about with Arvidsson and the Kings. He's just one of those guys that is not afraid to shoot the puck, lets it rip. He's a good player, but it's a tough matchup. So I'm not in love with it, and you're not getting any real discount because of it. It's an ultra contrarian play for me. But yeah, if there's any one player, it would be Timo Meier.
All right, last game of the night, we have Dallas Stars against the Anaheim Ducks. This is one of the lowest totals of the night by far, actually. No other games within like 0.7 goals of it. So we'll start with Dallas. Everyone's healthy for Dallas. However, as an away matchup and not a ton of goals expected in this game, I don't really like much on either side. Is there anyone on Dallas that stands out to you all?
If anything, it'd be that top line. But and call me a homer, but my poor Ducks, they just keep losing games left and right. And I just think that they're going to find a way to eke one out here tonight. You know, you've got Dallas mixing some things, guys in and out of the lineup. Obviously, they're able to take care of business. But if anything, it would be that top line for Dallas. But I'm just seeing like a way that the Ducks, come out and get a win here because it's been tough sledding here recently.
Realistically, we just need your Ducks and my Sabres just play every night. So we can just talk about how great they both are. And then they're not up against teams where they're just going to get smoked by realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, on the flip side, I think that Zegras and Terry are intriguing. I'm not seeing them really blow up for, a 3-4 point night, but they're cheap and they got a ton of ice time that last game. And I just think the Ducks are going to really ride those two together here, try and get them in any good matchup they can. And they're obviously on the power play as well. So yeah, I'm not going to write them off here tonight in this matchup. Again, it's more of a gut feeling than anything, but I think the Ducks, they just can't keep losing games like this.
Yep, I tend to agree with that as well. It's difficult when you just rattle off losses and tough loss in general. So that's going to wrap it up for the 9 games. I guess we'll ask a couple other quick questions to Boggs and see what his thoughts on it are. Everyone's favorite topic, except for generally the analysts. What are some goaltender thoughts for the night?
Yeah, there's a lot to like. I think that all of the games we talked about that might be lopsided in terms of scoring still could see some shots. Includes Freddie Anderson, Bobrovsky at the top, Francouz, I think that's how you say it. I don't have a problem paying up for those guys. If you want to come down, I think Markstrom will probably be the highest owned goalie because he's a little bit cheaper than those guys. And he does have a good matchup, had a phenomenal game against the Kings earlier in the season. So he's probably in that range where I do like him there. And then if you need some savings, I think Cam Talbot is in a decent spot if Minnesota is able to get the win on home ice. I mentioned Gibson. If you want to, kind of come off of Talbot or Markstrom as a guy that I just think the Ducks are going to win. I think they need to. And then if you want to get really wild, we talked about last week, Jake Allen is dirt cheap and he's taking on Carolina, should see, at least 30, 35, 40 shots.
Sure. All right. Then one last question, then we'll wrap it up for today. Any cheap options that you see tonight that really stand out to you and provide some value to people?
Yeah, I mentioned that Terry and Zegras as a combo. You can pair him with Drysdale. Very moderate price, and I like the ice time because we talked about it. You've got guys like Bunting and Verhaeghe that they're cheap and they're skating with Matthews and Barkov at even strength, but they're just not getting that power play time to correlate with them. But I won't write any of those guys off. And then I think I did say if you want to hopefully get lucky with a goal or two, all the Islanders skaters are pretty much in a decent spot. All the wingers, along with Barzal and Pajot, that, hey, it's a great matchup. And if there's ever an opportunity for them to go off, it's tonight.
Definitely. All right. That's going to wrap it up for us tonight after the 9 games. Anything else that you want to talk about before we call it a day here?
Nope. Just have fun. It should be a great night of hockey. Good luck.
For sure. All right, everyone, make sure that you tune back in. We'll be back next Tuesday with another show. Throughout the rest of the season, we plan to do shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays with a bit of a rotating cast as we go. And again, make sure you guys hit the like button on YouTube and leave a comment on the video with a guess on how many DraftKings points the highest scoring skater will have on tonight's slate. If you end up being the closest, you'll get a week free of Rotogrinders premium combo subscription. So make sure you do that. All right, everyone, good luck to you tonight. For Boggs, I'm Sean. We'll see you guys next week.